All right, so today we're going to be doing a deep dive on something I think is going to be pretty fun. Solo leveling. You sent me some really interesting source material about this. It sounds like a wild ride.
Yeah, it's definitely got a lot going on. It's one of
Yeah.
those anime series that's really captured people's imaginations.
Yeah, so just for starters, for anyone who's maybe not familiar with the premise,
hmm
what can you tell us about like the world of solo leveling? What's the basic setup?
Okay, so basically imagine our world, but with a twist. These mysterious gates have opened up all over the place, and they're unleashing these terrifying monsters. So to combat this threat, you've got these specialized fighters called hunters who have superhuman abilities.
Okay, hunters fighting monsters. I can already see where the action comes in. But our main character, Jin-Woo, he's not exactly starting out as like the top hunter.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah.
In fact, he's pretty much the opposite. He's the lowest rank possible,
Hmm.
an E rank hunter, which basically means he's considered weak, unreliable. The other hunters look down on him. And to be honest, he's barely scraping by.
Wow, so he's really starting from the bottom, huh? It's like the ultimate underdog story. But what makes his situation even worse? You mentioned
Mhm.
he's struggling.
Yeah, so on top of being the weakest hunter, he's also dealing with some really tough personal circumstances. His father died some time ago, and now he's the sole provider for his family. And his mom is sick in the hospital, so he's got these mounting medical bills.
Yeah, and that's a lot to deal with. It's like he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. So he's risking his life in these dangerous hunts just to try to make ends meet. And then things take this crazy turn, right? There's this double dungeon incident that completely changes everything.
Yeah, this is where the story really kicks into high gear. Jin-Woo ends up trapped in this incredibly dangerous dungeon with some of the strongest hunters around. And everyone thinks he's done for. They think he's going to die.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty hopeless situation.
Huh.
But then he wakes up with this mysterious new power.
Right. It's like he's been chosen for something special. He gains this ability to level up just like in a video game.
Level up. Okay, now that's intriguing. You mean like he literally gains stats and skills like you'd see in an RPG?
Exactly. He can increase his strength, speed, stamina, everything. He even starts unlocking these incredible new abilities as he levels up.
So it's like someone suddenly handed him the cheat codes to life. I'm already hooked. But tell me more about this level up system. How does it actually work? Does he just magically get stronger, or is there more to it?
Well, that's one of the things that makes solo leveling so clever. The system itself is kind of a mystery. It's not fully explained all at once.
Oh.
Jin-Woo has to figure it out as he goes along.
So it's not just a passive thing. He's not just getting stronger for no reason.
Right. It's not just a free pass to power. He has to actively train and push himself to unlock those new skills and abilities.
There's a real sense of strategy involved then. Like he has to make choices about how he wants to develop his powers.
Exactly. And the source material mentions how some fans even compare his journey to like classic RPGs. They strategize about the best builds for Jin-Woo. Like he was a video game character they were trying to optimize.
That's so cool. It really taps into that gamer mentality, right? You know, figuring out which skills to focus on, planning your approach to different challenges. But this isn't just a game, right? The choices Jin-Woo makes have real consequences.
Absolutely. And as he levels up and becomes more powerful, he starts facing some pretty serious ethical dilemmas too.
Okay, so we're going from zero to hero with a level up system. And now we're adding in some moral complexity. That sounds really interesting. So what kind of internal struggles is he grappling with?
Well, at first it's all about survival, right? He's using his newfound power to protect himself and his loved ones. But as he gets stronger, he starts attracting the attention of some pretty powerful individuals and organizations.
Oh, I bet. Not all of them have good intentions, I'm guessing.
You guessed it. Some of them want to use him for their own agendas. And he starts to question, who can he really trust? How should he use his power? And even whether he wants to be involved in this whole world of hunters and politics.
So the more powerful he gets, the more complicated his life becomes. It's kind of like that classic saying, with great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly. And on top of all that, the source material hints that there are even bigger players involved. These beings called monarchs, who are somehow connected to the gates and the monsters.
Monarchs. Okay, now I'm really curious. What are these monarchs exactly? And how do they tie into this whole mystery of the gates and this level up system?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting. And that's what we'll be diving into next time.
All right, so stay tuned, folks, because we're just getting started with this solo leveling deep dive. We've got monarchs mysteries And a hero's journey that's just getting started. This is going to be good.
It definitely is. So last time we were talking about these mysterious monarchs
Right.
and how they're connected to the gates and the monsters.
Right. That's like they're like the big bads of this whole story, pulling the strings from behind the scenes.
Exactly. And in season 2, we really start to learn more about them
Yeah.
and their motivations.
Okay. So lay it on me. What are these monarchs all about?
Well, basically, they're these ancient, incredibly powerful beings from another dimension. And they're the ones who are ultimately responsible for the gates appearing on Earth.
Another dimension. Okay, so we're not just dealing with like magical creatures or something. This is like full-on interdimensional stuff.
Yep. It definitely raises the stakes. And it turns out that the monarchs have their own agenda for Earth and humanity.
Oh, I bet it's not a good one.
You could say that, let's just say their goals don't exactly align with humanity's continued existence.
So it's not just about Jin-Woo leveling up and fighting monsters anymore. We're talking about like the fate of the entire world.
Exactly. It becomes this really epic struggle for survival.
And how does Jin-Woo handle this whole situation? I mean, he's obviously powerful, but is he really ready to take on these interdimensional beings?
Well, that's what's so interesting about his character development.
He's forced to step up and become something more than just a powerful hunter.
He has to make alliances strategize on a global scale and confront these monarchs who are basically gods compared to him.
Wow, that's a pretty big jump from struggling E rank to fighting gods.
It is. And it's not easy for him. He makes mistakes. He has doubts. But he keeps pushing forward because he knows what's at stake.
It sounds like the level up system plays a pretty big role in all of this too, right?
Oh, definitely. It's not just about him getting stronger. It's about understanding the system itself. Because the source material hints that the system is somehow connected to the monarchs.
So the very thing that gave him power could also be his undoing.
Possibly. It's a double-edged sword for sure.
You know what I really like about Solo Leveling so far? It's how it takes these familiar fantasy tropes, like the Chosen One, the power fantasy, the fight against ultimate evil, and it weaves them together in a way that feels fresh and exciting.
I completely agree. It's got that classic appeal, but with its own unique twists and turns.
And at the heart of it all, you've got this really compelling character in Jin-Woo.
Someone who starts out as a complete underdog, but then rises to the challenge.
Not just because he's strong, but because he's determined to protect the people he cares about.
And speaking of the action and the fights.
The source material mentions some pretty epic visuals and fight sequences.
Oh yeah, the animation is definitely a highlight.
Especially as Jin-Woo levels up and unlocks these incredible new abilities.
You really see him go from barely surviving encounters to dominating entire armies of monsters.
That progression must be amazing to watch, not just in terms of how powerful he becomes, but also in how his fighting style evolves.
Exactly. And the monster designs are pretty amazing too. There's so much variety and creativity there.
From these giant grotesque creatures to these really sleek, shadowy beings.
It really helps to build out the world of Solo Leveling and make it feel distinct.
And I've also heard that the soundtrack is pretty epic too, adding another layer of intensity to the whole experience.
The music is fantastic. It really helps to set the mood and build tension. It amplifies those moments of triumph and despair. Makes you feel like you're right there alongside Jin-Woo in the heat of battle.
It's all about creating that immersive experience, right?
Exactly. You're not just watching the story unfold, you're feeling it.
And speaking of feeling it, the source material mentions a pretty intense climactic finale in Season 2.
Oh yeah, things definitely come to a head.
Can you give us a taste of what Jin-Woo is up against in this final showdown?
Well, without giving away any major spoilers, I can say that he faces his greatest challenge yet. It's a battle that will determine the fate of humanity.
No pressure, right?
And it forces him to confront not only the monarchs, but also the true nature of his own power.
So it's like a culmination of everything he's been through up to this point.
All the leveling up, all the struggles, all the choices he's made along the way.
Wow, it sounds intense.
It is. And the outcome is anything but certain.
Okay, now you've really got me on the edge of my seat. I need to know how this all plays out.
You and me both.
Yeah.
It's a fight that will push him to his absolute limits and leave you thinking about it long after the credits roll.
Now that's what I call a good story. Okay, so we've got this epic showdown coming up, Jin-Woo versus these godlike monarchs. It really makes you think about what it would take to face that kind of power.
It's a question that lies at the heart of Solo Leveling, right? What does real strength actually mean? Is it just about raw power? Or is there something more to it?
Yeah, because Jin-Woo's journey, it's not just about him getting stronger physically. He's constantly evolving. mentally, emotionally, learning to understand the world and his place in it. It makes me wonder if we were given a level up system like that, what would we choose? What skills would we prioritize?
It's a fascinating thought experiment, isn't it? Would we go for straight-up combat skills like Jin-Woo? Or maybe something more strategic?
Hmm.
Or intellectual?
And would we even want that kind of power, knowing the responsibility it comes with it?
Right, because it's not always easy for Jin-Woo. He faces some really tough choices.
And he has to deal with the consequences.
Solo leveling definitely makes you think about the potential for both good and evil that we all have inside.
So it's more than just a simple action fantasy.
Exactly. There's a real depth to it.
Yeah.
It explores what it means to be human in a world where power can change everything.
And in the end, it makes you ask yourself, what would I do? Would I rise to the occasion like Jin-Woo? Or would I crumble under the pressure?
I think that's what makes the series so compelling. It's not just about the spectacle of the fights. It's about the characters and their struggles, their growth, their humanity.
It reminds us that true strength isn't just about physical power. It's about courage, compassion, the will to fight for what's right, even when the odds are stacked against you.
I love that. And you know what else I love about solo leveling? It kind of makes you think that maybe we all have that level up potential within us.
Maybe it's not about magic or monsters, but about pushing our own boundaries, learning new skills, striving to be better than we were yesterday.
It's a journey of self-improvement, a constant leveling up in our own lives.
Physically, mentally, emotionally. It's about embracing those challenges. So there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into solo leveling, an anime series that's full of action and heart, and some really thought-provoking themes.
It's a story about the power we all have within us to overcome adversity, to grow, to
Well,
make a difference.
and on that note, we're going to wrap things up for today, but keep those level up vibes going, folks. Embrace those challenges, push your limits, and never stop growing.